I don't know if that makes me more or less visible. Anyway, hi. Still getting settled, apparently. So, yeah, today was chill. Um, I still have razor bumps on my chest, and that still sucks. But it sucked significantly less today. In that, for the most part, like, they only really hurt when I was in the shower. They're still very sensitive to heat, but they seem to have stopped uh, getting angry every time they're touched. So that's nice. A weird way to explain that. Um, just spent the day continuing Dead Space 3. Uh, should be set up to finish it tomorrow. And if not, I imagine I'll be very close. I do have the DLC campaign. I'll probably play through again. I've only ever played through it once, and that was with a friend. So I don't know how it's going to be alone. If I have time left, I'll probably go back to my most complete save file just to kind of dick around a bit and see what a lot of my final builds were. Although I'm starting to remember, like as far as weapons and stuff, because for this I started a clean file. Just because I like to do that when I've been away from a game for a really long time. About the only exceptions to that rule are Mass Effect, really, and Dragon Age, specifically Inquisition. When I go back to it, that's just because um, I do it's easy to remember the general decisions that are going to carry over. Um, but I can do that while still technically starting fresh as far as level and all that stuff. Uh, but like I don't have a full arsenal with me from the get go, so there's that. Um, God, I'm so excited for the trilogy. Like I knew I was going to be excited. I underestimated how excited I was going to be, which I didn't think was possible when it came to Mass Effect. I thought I knew exactly how excited I would be, but still, I'm so. Never have I itched so much to replay that trilogy than this remastered edition. And I've gone back for full trilogy replays a few times. Um, it was something I was doing like at least every other year, and if not a full one, um, at least 3. Although I'd usually quit right before finishing 3. Like I'd do everything. Like I'd do all the DLCs and everything and get to the last mission and then just remember it being really depressing and not finish the game. But I have that problem with a lot of games. Even, despite the content of the ending, and that's not even what I'm talking about with Mass Effect. It's just, oh, this is over. And with Mass Effect in general, it was getting kind of sad because it was starting to look like that, and Andromeda was all we were ever going to get. and I was really worried about EA just liquidizing BioWare because it's not pulling in like it used to, which would be entirely EA's fault, because like 90% of the reason Andromeda flopped so hard is having to use an engine that BioWare had never used before, and on a time crunch. You know, it's when it comes to a studio demanding both of those things, they can go. A publisher, I mean, demanding a studio use both of those things. Like, that publisher can go fuck itself right off a cliff. Which EA could honestly just do anyway. I'll still never forgive them for killing Visceral. Even more so, rewatching Dead Space 1 and 2 and now replaying 3. Um, and I'm just, I'm surprised how much, with how hard EA was pushing Visceral with Dead Space 3. It just makes me sad because there are genuinely some good moments. And you can see bits and pieces of the game they wanted to make in it. But unfortunately, this was something me and my friend came up with the last time we played it. A lot of the game suffers from Universal Ride Syndrome, or like Disney Ride Syndrome, where like 2 had its big set pieces, right? But I don't know what it is, but just something about the big set pieces in 3 feel, maybe it's because so many of them take place like inside of a ship or something, at least early on. And so like that makes it suffer, that makes it really feel like you're just on a ride at Universal and not actually in this game world. Like the first major area of the game, you can kind of travel freely between a few different major locations once you've gotten to a certain point, and tackle things in whatever order you want. And the little thing that rides you around this area is super much it's just so, like, you really do feel like you are just sitting in a stationary ride looking at a view screen, and if you're lucky, the cart moves. And that's definitely it at its worst. Which, I mean, it's fine. It's just they're glorified loading screens at that point, you know. But it's just sad how much of the big pieces feel like a ride at Universal. But it's still a solid game, surprisingly, as far as like it it still for the most part handles like Dead Space. A lot has been said about having a cover system, but at the very least, Visceral resisted. You know, it's not full Gears of War. It's not even a Snap 2 cover system. It's just you can crouch now. Because okay. And if you crouch near the good old chest high wall, when you aim, you'll aim over the chest high wall. That's the extent of the cover system. So it's not like, you're actually diving in cover like things like Gears of War or even the later Mass Effects. And in fact, while it's kind of heavy early on, dealing with actual human enemies isn't as, it doesn't happen as often as I feel like people fear it will when they hear it's in the game. It doesn't even happen as often as I remember, to be perfectly honest with you. And yeah, they're a little shooting gallery-esque, but there are a few interesting things going on. Like later on, they start using grenades and even rocket launchers that you can catch and throw back at them with kinesis, which is fun. It will never not be fun. Um, and then you get like three-way fights going on between, you know, you, them, and the necromorphs. And none of you are actually working together. It's just those quick, almost alliances where you watch the two sides fight each other and you decide which one you'd rather deal with when it's over. So I don't think they're as devastating as they can seem. And one thing I do like about it is it finally comes around to referencing to giving a nice little what's the word I'm looking for? There is a bit of a nice little homage to John Carpenter's The Thing, which was a heavy influence for the necromorphs. In that, eventually you do get down to this planet and it's frozen, so it's like Arctic planet and derelict buildings and fucked up things popping up out of the snow. And while it's not as good as it could have been, um, if Visceral had been allowed to make the game they wanted to, I don't think the settings would have been much different. I think it's just how we interacted with those settings, and like I think they more or less got to tell the story they wanted to, just not on the terms that they wanted to tell it, if that makes sense. It's like I don't think they were handed this checklist and they had to throw out the story, you know. Um, if it was handed to them after it was finished, it may not have been told the way they wanted to as far as gameplay and the the kind of actiony set pieces, but I think it would have just boiled down to whether or not we were um, given a bit of a contrived level of control over these sort of set pieces, or if they just happened quick and dirty in cutscenes and then we moved on and it was back to just you and the setting. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I've lost track of it completely. But I guess the point is there's, the real Dead Space 3's in here somewhere. It just got buried underneath the corporate bullshit. Um, and I will forever be sad that, Visceral's flagship legacy will never be what they wanted it to. And not because it just, not because it just fell flat, but because EA didn't let them make it. But anyway, that's enough whining about Dead Space 3. It's still fun to play, and I would still really love to actually play it co-op again. I was one of the few people who actually kind of enjoyed the multiplayer in 2. in that, you know, like I'm fairly sure that was an EA demand thing, but it was reminiscent of like Left 4 Dead has a mode like that, and it's just, you know, it was just kind of fun getting to play as the necromorphs just in general. Anyway, I'm just getting distracted by my night noise, and also I'm tired, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this. I'll catch you all tomorrow.